the history of automobiles, very few cars have managed to leave a mark as deep as the Volkswagen Beetle. Simple, reliable, instantly recognizable. This small car didn't just transport people, it became a global icon. The story of the Beetle begins in the early 1930s, during a time of massive change in Germany. Adolf Hitler envisioned a people's car, something affordable, simple, and practical for everyday citizens. He wanted a car that could travel on the newly built Autobahn system, carry a family, and remain inexpensive to own. To bring this idea to life, German engineer Ferdinand Porsche was given the task of designing the vehicle. But interestingly, the core concept of the Beetle actually dates back even earlier, to 1925, when Blas Barnier had already sketched a similar design. The result of these ideas was the Volkswagen Type 1, the car we now know as the Beetle. However, history had other plans. When World War II began in 1939, production was delayed. It wasn't until after the war ended that the Beetle truly came to life. And when it did, it changed everything. At first, the car was simply called Volkswagen. The name Beetle didn't become official until 1968, but by then, the world had already fallen in love with its unique, rounded shape. What made the Beetle special wasn't just how it looked, it was how it worked. It featured a rear-mounted, air-cooled, four-cylinder boxer engine. No radiator, no complex cooling system, just simple engineering that worked almost anywhere in the world. The engine sat in the back, driving the rear wheels. This layout gave the Beetle excellent traction and surprising durability, even on rough roads. Inside, the design was just as practical. It could seat 4 passengers comfortably. There was storage space in the front trunk and even behind the rear seat. Everything about the car was built with efficiency in mind. Over the years, Volkswagen made more than 78,000 small improvements to the Beetle. Most were subtle, changes in lighting, interior details, or color options. But together, they kept the car modern without changing its identity. Different versions were introduced, including the 1200, 1300, 1500, and 1600 models. Later variants like the 1302 and 1303 brought further refinements. Yet despite these updates, the Beetle always remained a Beetle. By 1972, something incredible happened. The Beetle became the best-selling car of all time, surpassing every competitor before it. It held that record for nearly 30 years. In total, over 21.5 million units were produced. That's not just success, that's domination. But no legend lasts forever. By the 1970s, the automotive world was changing. Consumers were shifting toward front-wheel drive hatchbacks, cars that offered more space and modern design. Volkswagen responded with a new model, the Volkswagen Golf, introduced in 1974. It marked the beginning of a new era. At the same time, Japanese automakers began dominating global markets with efficient and affordable vehicles. Slowly, the Beetle's popularity began to fade. Yet, even as sales declined, production continued. Year after year, decade after decade. From 1938 to 2003, a production run of 65 years, the longest for any single-generation car in history. Think about that. Generations of families grew up with the Beetle. Students drove it. Workers relied on it. Adventurers took it across continents. It wasn't just a car. It was a companion. Even its design became a cultural symbol. From movies to music, the Beetle appeared everywhere, representing freedom, individuality, and simplicity. And perhaps that's the real reason behind its success. The Beetle wasn't trying to be the fastest. It wasn't trying to be the most luxurious. It was built to be dependable. And in a world full of complexity, that simplicity made it unforgettable. Today, the Volkswagen Beetle remains one of the most iconic cars ever built. A true legend of the automotive world. Because while many cars come and go, very few manage to live on in memory. The Beetle didn't just survive, it refused to die.